I'm invincible. I'm paying money. The girl's happy. She's got no money. I got my rocks off. Oh, how good is this?
Welcome to Bound for Glory, the only AFL show on SYN. Another big show coming up. We'll review all the games that happened Friday and yesterday, and as well as all the previews from this week. And we'll also look at some trade wins that will happen during the off-season, as of course as the season finished for a lot of clubs yesterday. First, we'll introduce the panel. My name's Ethan.
I'm Peter. I'm Joe.
The season's not finished for Richmond. I'm Matt.
And I'm Ashley.
I was waiting for you to say something.
Oh,
like
I'm
that.
sorry. I'm so excited.
Is the lid off?
What?
The lid's off?
If we were fourth, the lid would be off. But I have no idea what to do to purchase finals tickets. What happens? what is this mysterious
Start lining up now.
What is finals?
What is finals?
Monday, 9 a.m, Joyce.
I'm so lucky. I know people say that Richmond should be playing on the Saturday just because they got the 5th position. I'm working on election day, which is Saturday, so thankfully we're playing on the Sunday. Otherwise, I would jump off the Westgate. So,
Picture you with a tear in your eye, holding your hand to your heart and waiting.
But yeah, interesting. Very close games of footy this weekend. 2 one-point games.
We'll start off with the one at Cardinia Park, of course. Brisbane pushing Geelong all the way to 1 point.
Poor Ryan Lester.
Almost getting over the line if Ryan Lester had, decided to kick it up in the air like a normal AFL kick.
No, he just panicked. It's fine.
He panicked. So it's a fair effort for a team to get so close to Cardinia Park. It doesn't happen very much. I mean, Sydney's won one game there, and that's pretty much it for the last.
I think it's
6, 7,
45
8 years.
wins out of 47 games or something ridiculous like that.
Oh, they've dropped one, I think.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Did you guys see the missing holding the ball decision?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a shocker.
Shocking.
Absolutely shocking. Putting the whistle away can only go so far. As well as, well, we'll get into it later, but there was another call like that in the Carlton-Port Adelaide game. But I really would have liked Brisbane to make it, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway, right? Because Carlton won. So.
Correct, yeah. But it would have been funny for Fremantle, however.
That would be hilarious.
But they were obviously missing Merritt and Jonathan Brown, so to get that close is a fantastic effort for Brisbane, and I think that shows a lot of good signs for next season.
And we saw footage of Brownie in the coach's box afterwards, just with this stone face. I'm like, oh, he's not going around again. In my opinion, he's done. Like it was basically watching his football life flash before his eyes.
Well, you could tell they had the camera on him a lot late in that last quarter. He was on the edge of his seat. I mean, he still has the passion to play. I think he's still a very important player. Even if he plays 20 games and only kicks 25, 30 goals, he's a forward target, and Brisbane don't have anyone immediately jumping into place to replace him, apart from Jordan Lyle, who was okay yesterday, and there isn't much behind him.
Is Michael Voss the most unluckiest man in football?
Oh, he'd be close.
I think James Hurd's the most unluckiest man in football.
He dug his own grave.
No, James Hird dug his own grave.
Yeah. Yeah, Brisbane next year and beyond. Depends who their coach is, really, because it's not going to be Paul Roos, apparently, according to Lee Matthews. So,
the ABC's reporting he's gone to Melbourne, so...
Yeah, they're throwing money at him.
50-50, according to Roos. But who do you think's going to be Brisbee's coach? That's my new nickname for them.
I don't know whether Mark Harvey's willing to step in.
Didn't he say he wasn't?
Yeah, I thought he said that.
I think... Well, money could entice him as well as Paul Roos. So, he's gone from zero chance to 50-50 to coaching again. So, I suppose, Rodney Eade's tied away. Mark Williams probably will be tied away. There aren't many candidates this year. I mean, over previous years, we have people like Ken Hinkley and Alan Richardson and, lots, and, Scott Burns as well. He's probably might take over at West Coast. There's been a lot of assistant coaches that have been, jumping around for a spot, and it doesn't seem like there are as many this year.
Is James Hird only banned from Essendon? Because he could step in for Brisbane
No,
for 1
I think
year.
he's banned from all AFL.
That's unfortunate.
Coaching. Just got a text in from an anonymous person here. They've texted in on sin.org.au, or you can text us in on 0427 767 767. And they've just said McBurney should have stopped at 400 games.
Oh,
harsh.
Yeah, fair call. Do you think he'll
We're
umpire?
teeing off early today, aren't we?
He'll umpire finals. I don't think he'll umpire the grand final. So
It's his final year, so
yeah.
He's going a bit senile.
Yeah, a little bit. But he's got such a friendly face, though.
Honestly, I do blame the rule change for that. I mean, the AFL introduced this year that, you have to do ball ups and bounces and throw ups a lot quicker, just to try and reduce congestion. And McBurney called that very, very quickly, and I don't think in previous years he would have. So I'm staring at the rules for that one.
He dived on it like a grenade. That's the thing. You can't do that.
You can when you're Geelong in Geelong.
No, I don't think McBurney cares, honestly.
Speaking of Geelong in Geelong, what do you guys think about the final being played at Simmons Stadium?
Well, obviously they deserve it because they're Geelong. As I've said, I'm happy for them. I think, though, it was a bit early to call it for this final series because no one saw it coming, in a way. But from 2014 on, I was happy for it. The only thing is, obviously, the teams such as Collingwood, Richmond, Essendon, Carlton never play there. So for them to sort of go there, and we know how weird their breeze and pockets can be, for them to sort of go there in a final having no experience, that's the only concern. What I would suggest is that over 2 years, say, rather Geelong play nearly all their home games there, and that way they can play those teams, and then at least every 2 years or so, those teams get used to it.
I don't think they would have played it skilled if it was any team other than Fremantle, just because of the capacity. I don't think you'll get more than a couple thousand Freo fans over, but if it was Sydney, they've got a lot of South Melbourne supporters and so on, and they would have played at Etihad in that scenario, in my opinion.
That's true. I just mean for the future that it would, like, for example, if they did play Carlton or Collingwood or Essendon, Richmond, etc., for them to suddenly go, we're playing at like Simmons, and they've never played there. It's like, okay, like it's kind of like saying, hey, let's go play at Manuka, like.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
The thing is, a lot of people have sort of gone up in arms saying it's not fair for Geelong to have an advantage to play at their home ground. The thing is, if Freo had the home final, they'd be playing in Subiaco. That would be their home ground
That's
advantage.
about the
So what's
most
the difference?
hostile ground in Australia
Exactly
at the moment.
right.
And they nearly did. If Brisbane won,
Boobiaco, basically.
they would have. Freo really would have shot themselves in the foot by playing those 10 changes if Brisbane came out winning, because they would have finished second.
And like I said earlier off the record, I was saying that it would be great if they had have beaten them, and then in the middle of Ross Lyon's press conference, someone hands him the scores from the Brisbane game and just see him go like that Hitler video and scrunches it up.
His eyes just start twitching. It was a funny game to say. But first we'll talk about Port Adelaide Carlton, another 1-pointer. Oh, a fantastically close game at the end. I mean,
why, Broadbrent? Why?
Kicking a poster with about 10 seconds to go. Carlton, it's the first time they've really shown that sort of, relentless attack, I think, for a long time. Kicking 8 goals in that last quarter to pinch it in, again, in a hostile environment that is interstate. Malthouse doing it again. He doesn't seem to lose interstate. Carlton are 4-1 away from Victoria this year, so it's a remarkable record, and now it's transitioning over to Carlton.
Move them to Tassie. They'll just win every game interstate.
I don't know what to say to that. But when Bryce Gibbs is one of your best players, and he got 26 disposals last night, something's different about the game.
Normally that's not a very good sign for the rest of the team.
Yeah, he should be one of your best players, though. He's a number 1 draft pick. Like, he should be in your top 5 every week if he was living up to potential, if you think about it. Like, him and Cruiser and Murphy should be your 3 best every week, really, along with Judd, but he's spent, so... he
might be back in next week now that Carlton playing finals.
Maybe.
No, let's not have that. That's not a good thing.
What's wrong, Matt?
No, nothing's wrong. Nothing at all.
Oh, for God's sake, let us finish 5th and we'll do them in.
No, you can contend with Port, where you lost to before.
The tragedies of making finals. Melbourne's 17th, Matt. Think about it.
I'm sorry, I'm usually a draft expert by this point, but I have no clue this year. No, that's not true. I've kept up a little bit. But, yeah... Do you really think that... I mean, obviously they can't really shake it up that much, either of these teams. I think with the finals, the top 8, it's really broken into brackets of 2. So Hawthorn and Geelong are ahead of the rest. Then Freo and Sydney, then Collingwood and Richmond, and then Port and Carlton. I think there's clear class
I would say
differences
that, yeah.
between the two. So,
and the interesting thing to note is they asked Malthouse after the game, do you think you can shake it up? He's like, I'm not sure how far we're going to go, but at least we're in. So it gives me, I don't think he's got a lot of great confidence in them to do a lot, but yeah.
and he was smiling after the game. That was scary. That was terrifying.
What is
to
this?
See. It was, yeah, you usually
What is this
used to-
emotion? I do not know what is coming over me.
And you'd be, well, pardon my French, pissed off if you were Adelaide because all Port had to do was hold on to a 5-goal lead at three-quarter time, and Adelaide would have been in the finals. Because,
All Adelaide had to do was win one of the 12 games they dropped during
yes, but come on,
So
5
did
goals
North?
at three-quarter time.
So did North had to win one of the.
Let's
games
be
that
honest,
they-
no one
One of
really
the-
wanted that 8th spot. It was literally like the Bradbury, which we've seen so many times on the internet memes. It was like everyone fell over and going, oh yeah, we might as well take this. It doesn't matter.
Everybody's stumbling over
Yeah.
the line. It's fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
All that unfold over the last few rounds. Mark Murphy, I thought we have to note he was fantastic in that last quarter. He kicked 3 goals. You know, it's the first time he's really looked to have any penetration or actual genuine impact on the contest for a long time. I know, when he was running through the middle and he socketed the ball up in the air, to get it to, I think it was Cade Simpson or Jared Wade, I think it was, who hand passed it back and he kicked that goal on the run, late in the last. So it's those efforts that I don't think we've seen for a while. I think he's been coasting a little bit. I don't know whether he's injured or something, but he hasn't been going at 100%. So
He seems to have quite a good sprinting speed for the last few seconds of the game. I was pretty impressed at how he managed to get up in that quick little 15-metre sprint.
Over the line.
over the boundary line.
That was the other decision that I was talking about. Which,
That wasn't deliberate.
No.
he
Well,
was under some sort of pressure.
Yeah, it was deliberate, but they don't pay it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, his intention was nothing but the boundary line, but
He
they
could have
never
disguised
pay it. They never pay it.
If they paid that with how many seconds on the clock? Was it 3 seconds on the
Yeah,
clock?
3 seconds, yeah.
Oh, that would have been great.
No, it wouldn't have. It would be a shambles
odds
right now.
Odds on it would have been a behind anyway, even if he scored, so it would have been a draw, you would have got through. But, yeah, it was interesting nonetheless. He had no other intention than sprinting. It was like suddenly got his Usain Bolt on and got straight over the
We're
line.
talking way too much about Carlton, in my opinion. Port Adelaide, what a story for the year. Finished
I'm
7th.
so happy that they made finals. Like, I would have, if it came down to like how it was meant to come down to Carlton and Port Adelaide playing to make that 8th spot, I would have gladly said Port, take it. Like, seriously.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
I would
okay.
have.
They've
Because
been
I think that
sensational.
they deserve it much more.
I think in the moment, no, you rather get it.
Yeah.
Well,
You didn't let them have it yesterday.
Deny it, would you?
I don't know if I'm completely. Wasn't completely stoked that Carlton made it into the finals. To be quite honest, I didn't start dancing around my lounge room celebrating when they made it last night. Yeah.
Screw all of you guys.
Oh man, it sucks to sneak into the finals, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, Port Adelaide, they were fantastic yesterday. Brad Ebert, he's starting to kick goals. He's been a very underrated player in the past 2 seasons. He was sort of on the outer at West Coast, and he revitalised himself as an inside midfielder, tackling midfielder, goes 2 ways, and kicked 4 goals yesterday. He was great. And then players like Cameron O'Shea, he had 24 disposals for a defender. That's a very good effort. There's lots of young players really showing themselves, and be a great test for them to play finals.
Ebert was an absolute steal by Port Adelaide. I mean, obviously he wanted to go home and he had the whole family connection, but I think it was pick 28.
It was pick 28 in a swap of 45 and 49.
That's ridiculous. Like, you're not going to get much better value than that from a player, and a lot of Port players are really standing up. Broadbent had another. Like, he normally shows flashes, but he's been much more consistent this year. Travis Boak's been one of the best captains in the league, in my opinion, this year. And Jay Schultz is very good. What did you think of the prison bars, by the way? Just a quick question.
From the back, that jumper clashed massively. Like, I could see how that could get really confusing on the field. Like, they look pretty similar with the white and then
Why
the
wouldn't
bottom.
Carlton wear their just home jumper?
I don't know.
I think 2 things. One, Carlton need a better clash jumper. I think there's too much navy on it because
What about-
it still clashes.
What about the canary yellow? I like that one.
the canary?
No.
Or the
M&M
light
blue.
blue, the M&M blue.
Well, if Port wear that jumper next week, there will definitely be a clash.
I don't
I'll
think
tell
they're
you
going
that.
to.
But I didn't honestly see that much of a clash. I mean, no more than what you might see in a Hawthorn Tigers or, Melbourne Essendon or something like that. They're two close colours, of course. I mean, there's navy and white and black and white, of course. But I think one jumper was mainly black, one was mainly white. So I thought you could tell the difference if you looked hard enough.
Have gotten another text in. Someone has SMS'd us in. Matt Joyce, this is aimed for you. Listen to the Richmond supporter losing his mind about being in finals, but seriously good for them.
Who is that?
It says no
Aiden
one.
again.
I will track you down. I will find you, and I will celebrate. But moving on, we've got a game that Andrew Demetriou is questioning the integrity of, which is St Kilda and
tanking
Fremantle.
doesn't exist,
No, it
Matt.
doesn't. It's just a $100,000 fine. No, it doesn't exist at all. 71-point win for St Kilda in what could have... Who could have seen that coming? I mean, I would have seen it being close, in my opinion, with the 10 outs, because there is that big of a gap in quality between Freo and St Kilda, in my opinion. But Jack Stephen is the cornerstone of St Kilda for the next 10 years.
Youngest player to have 47 disposals in
Yeah.
a game.
And Monty as well was very good again.
Montagna having 47 as well.
And do you know that was a record disposals in a game ever? Thanks, Ross, you
Yeah.
prick. A bottom
Way
four
too long.
team just broke the disposal record. You idiot.
Yeah.
This is why no one likes you.
I'm sure Freo fans kind of like him.
Yeah, now they like him.
Yeah, a little
Didn't like
bit.
him originally.
No. And Tom Lee had a very good game as well, kicking 3 goals, really, cementing his spot a bit more. He could have been taken as a rookie the year before he was eventually taken with a pre-selection via GWS, but I reckon St Kilda have got a pretty good deal there. He showed, certainly a lot at Waffle level when he was playing there, and in the Foxtel Cup he was quite impressive when he was playing for Claremont. But I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Tom Lee. And a good farewell game for Milne, Cozzy and Blake. Blake got a goal, which was
They were
quite a rare
fantastic
occasion.
scenes, weren't
Yeah.
they? Some of the best of the year.
And-
Watching the entire side get around Jason Blake as he, slotted those goals was fantastic to watch. And Stephen Milne as well.
Yeah, and
And
classic
not
Cozzy moment. No, they got around him still, and then there was... It basically epitomised his career, like, yeah, oh, wait. Yeah, it's actually not great.
I think it's fantastic to see, even though he kicked 0 goals 4 in that last quarter, to see Justin Gazitsky doing what, he was making himself out to be when he was younger, taking those big clunk contested marks. It's something we haven't really seen for years.
For about 200 games.
180.
For about 180.
But no, it was great to see. It's certainly going to give St Kilda's youngsters more of a chance in the future. They've got a lot of rookies that never got a chance just because of these older players basically keeping their spot in the side. But now that they're gone, it's all up for grabs.
Well,
It's good.
next season, it's worth noting for Saints fans, I think it'll be a really rough season, but there are going to be at least 3 key defenders who are AIS standard who are going to be top 5. So they will secure a key defender next year. So it'll be rough next year, but the year after.
Can they go another year without a key defender, though?
They're going to trade for sure.
Well, you think they'd get someone, but, it's worth trying to think about getting one, because they're not going to have a good year even with one defender, like an extra one.
I know they're looking at David Asprey and Ben Griffiths from Richmond. Asprey's certainly shown a lot more in recent times, but Griffiths is really... They don't have a gorilla key back, and that's sort of what Griffiths is. He's 200 centimetres and can kick the ball 70 metres. I mean, who can do that? But he just can't put it together, and he's like paper mache, basically, like Cozzy used to be. So be interesting to see what sort of trades get done. As a Richmond supporter, I'd want a second-round pick or like at least an
For
upgrade.
Griffiths, who barely plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's certainly got all the tools. I'm serious. Like I'm
Everyone's just going, what?
No, I see where you're coming from. He's a talented player who hasn't established himself.
because he just
But-
seems to be thrown back forward. Because with the Coburg-Veerfield alignment, you have some say in where you play your players, but eventually it's Coburg's directive as to where you play them. So Richmond have got their own VFL side next year, and hopefully the stifling development of tools, which has gone on for far too long, is not going to continue. Because
it's happened with mids as well, let's be fair.
I'd say our mids have gone pretty well in the past.
Last 3 or 4 years. Before that,
7 years of drafts have been pretty good.
When was Tamlin,
Since 2006.
Oakley, Nichols? Okay.
Since 2006 with Rewalt. Yeah.
But any cause of concern for Fremantle? I mean, it's Ross Lyon's biggest loss. Of smashed in about every single statistic. I mean, they only had the ball, about half as much as St Kilda, and I wish there was hyperbole in it. And they only had 40 tackles nonetheless. So, it wasn't even an effort from. I know it's half their side, but there was no effort from 12 players that are probably going to play finals. So
they're going to have a massive challenge come finals. So I think that. Obviously, it was pretty obvious that they were resting players and just preparing. They got bigger fish to fry, and St Kilda's not exactly anything spectacular. No offence, St Kilda supporters.
Yeah, but if you if you think about it though, there's the depth. That's the depth of Fremantle, and you would think that the depth of Fremantle could at the very least put up an effort against a top four, like a bottom four side. So I think there's a few concerns after that, say 25, 26 players. Like if they lose, say 3 or 4 players to injury in finals, they're starting to. I think it drops right off.
Well, they've had a tough run with injury this year, so I think they already have lost those 3 and 4. I mean, there was no McFarlane, there's no Bradley, there's no Griffin, there's
Pavlich as well.
Pavlich, yeah, he was out, so. There's a lot of players missing already, so I think it was their 30 to 35 bracket. I mean, even to 40 that was exposed to. So I mean, player like Josh Simpson playing his first game. Who else was there? It was Craig Moller. Very, very unexposed players.
Alex Forster.
Very players that you'd be difficult to ever name.
Well,
over here in Victoria, of course.
And that's the thing. Maybe during the match committee meeting, Ross is looks at team list. Who's this guy? Hey, let's chuck him in. No idea. Young player. I don't believe in young players. Let's just shove him in anyway.
Yeah, and Ryan Crowley with a massive 28 disposals was Frio's leading disposal getter.
That tells you a story, doesn't it?
There were 15 St Kilda players who got more disposals than Fremantle's second highest disposal getter, which really shows the domination of every single aspect of that game.
16 to 2 players with 20 more, over 20 disposals.
Absolutely ridiculous.
This is a bottom four side.
We'll go right to some SYN messages and be back with the other reviews from the weekend.
Your face looks better bleeding.
Mosh Pit on SYN, the place to get the best punk and metal going round. Thursday nights from 9 on SYN.
A side quest is an optional section of a video game and is commonly found in role-playing games.
It is a smaller mission within a larger storyline and can be used as a means to provide non-linear structures to an otherwise linear plot.
As a general rule, the completion of side quests are not essential for the game to be finished, but can bring various benefits to the player characters.
Also non-essential but highly awesome is side quests and SYN.
So tune in Fridays at 11 PM to hear Side Quest, SYN's home of indie and retro gaming.
Are you sick of the politicians of today?
Leaving young people on the dole is such a terrible waste.
Tune in to Future Politicians to hear from the leaders of tomorrow. Saturdays, 3:30 to 4:30.
And we're back on Bound for Glory. Going to go to the rest of the reviews for this round so far, starting off with the Friday clash between Hawthorn and Sydney, which is going to be a rematch in the first round of the finals.
It was the first leg of 2, and the next one at the MCG.
No aggregate, though. It's just going to be play for keeps.
If only they could do something like that in the AFL.
That'd be hilarious.
Same time next week for those guys.
But Hawks getting up by 10 points, was it? 12 points. Very close game, back and forth really. Tippett was a late out, which might have been the difference in the end, but it really forced Sydney to really look for more forward options, with it, which they haven't been doing in the second half of the year with Tippett there. It's basically just been kick it to Tippett, and it's been working.
Not that
for
that's
him.
been particularly a bad thing.
No, it's been working, but like, who else has a 202 centimetre defender like Gold Coast do and Essendon do? That's about
Keith?
it. Oh yeah, Keith. Yeah, I suppose. No, go ahead.
How many weeks do you reckon Franklin's going to get on his late bump on Malcheski?
2 down to 1.
I reckon 2. I don't know why. He's got like a really bad record.
Yeah,
No, he doesn't.
But hasn't he been suspended 7 times?
Oh, I think so. He hasn't got any carryover.
Yeah, no, it's
That is so
expired.
weird.
No, maybe no carryover, but just the bad record might multiply.
Oh,
it.
is there any loading?
Yeah, I think so. That's the thing.
Okay. 25% we're being told, so...
By a astute producer.
Hopefully maybe 3 weeks.
It's not going to happen.
Will never happen through the AFL tribunal.
So it might be 2 with no early guilty plea. I think if it's negligent, medium, and head high, which is probably what it is, then it's 2 with no guilty plea. So he's going to have to fight it.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Knowing the
honestly.
AFL tribunal, they'll probably give him a bloody suspended sentence for next season. Like,
What, Barry Hall it?
yeah.
But I think he should get 1 week. Like, if he was 10 centimetres shorter, it wouldn't have done anything. Like, he didn't leave the ground, he didn't raise his elbow, it was his shoulder hitting his head. So, yeah.
Sorry, Matt, I don't buy that height thing. I just think that means you have to be more careful with it because you're more likely to collect someone in the head. You have to be more careful when you're that tall and you can cause that much damage.
That's Melbourne mentality right there.
But if Hawthorn do go into the first couple of weeks of finals without Buddy, we've seen them throughout the year even perform better without Buddy. So do you think it's really going to make that big an impact if he's not there?
Well, who's Rance going to destroy if Buddy's not playing?
Not Travis Cloak, that's for sure.
That's if they make a semi-final.
If, that's a big if, yeah.
You've made
These
your
Richmond supporters.
first final in 12 years. Don't
I'm
get too
allowed
far
to
ahead
get
of
out
yourself.
of myself.
He's already engraving the Premiership Cup at the moment, I
I'm
think.
actually, like, when I'm lying in bed at night, these are the scenarios that go over in my head.
Now, this is going a bit too far. Let's.
I'm just like, okay, we're going to beat them, and then we're going to beat them, then I'm going to see the headlines, Tigers in September. But, yeah.
Calm down.
But
Back
anyway,
to the game.
I think Sydney, though, showed quite a bit of heart without Tippett, as we said. That I think they'd be pretty confident going into this game. I know it's in Melbourne, but, you know, they don't hold that fear anymore. Obviously, the last time they played Hawthorn at the MCG in a final, it turned out pretty well for them.
Definitely. And, I mean, they do have a lot of injuries in the recent times. Nick Smith, do you think he'll still be out?
Oh, he should come back. He only copped a knock. And Hanbury was out as well.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in a way you could say Buddy probably picked his target right. He's like, you're not going to take another premiership off, are you? Melcheski.
Well, do you think if Hawthorn win, Buddy will leave? Do you think
I
if
think
they don't
so.
win, he'll leave?
I think if Franklin's got 2 premierships at Hawthorn and he's got $2 million a year on the cards, why wouldn't you?
I think he wants to leave anyway, really. I don't know. I just think he's going to leave anyway. So
It's a possibility.
especially with that kind of money, you can't blame him.
No, definitely
It is
not.
a business after all.
Yeah.
How many forwards can GWS have, though?
They're being greedy.
As many as they
10. Why not all of them?
They have millions of dollars at their disposal.
You
They
gotta
can have
remember.
20 if they want.
Their tall forwards aren't like normal tall forwards. Apart from Patton, the others are really athletic. So they can almost play that small forward role.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Tomlinson who plays almost on a wing. They've got Cameron who is one of the most flexible forwards in the competition. They've got Franklin who basically is a high half forward. So.
Yeah, so
They don't
like,
have Franklin yet.
yeah. But I mean, if the ball drops, it's not like you've got, you know, Dean Brogan and stuff and those kind that, we're not going to get the ball. They can sprint off and beat most small defenders as well. So they're just as good. Like, they can have that taller forward.
It's going to be a nightmare for defenders. GWS need defenders of their own as well because they do not have anything.
Yeah.
If you've got Curtly Hampton trying to defend, that's not going to go well for you. What else could we take from the game? Do you think it'll be the same result in week 1?
Oh, I think it'll be the same result, but I think what Sydney has shown is that, well, you know, prior to this game, we were thinking, okay, the Swans have really dropped off the pace. You know, they've got a lot of injuries, and they're really going to struggle to make anything a contest. You know, come finals, and they've shown that they actually can. You know, they've taken it all the way up to Hawthorn, who are the premiership favourites. And I think if they bring that same sort of intensity to the qualifying final next Friday night, they will come very close. And they could very well pinch it with Hanbury, Smith, and Tippett back.
And I think it would be very interesting because if Sydney did, as we were saying before, if Sydney beat Hawthorn and Richmond win, Richmond-Hawthorn, which would be absolutely massive.
I would love that. I would really love that, just to get the chance.
Alternatively, Richmond-Sydney.
No. If it was in Melbourne, maybe, but not in Sydney.
Yeah, well, exactly. We'll swap positions. It makes sense.
That's fine. Moving right on, though, I think that's about all from that game. Let's get into what's really important. Richmond thrashing Essendon.
Have we not spoken about Richmond the entire show? It feels like it.
I'm sorry. But no, it was a good... I actually don't think it was a good win. I think Richmond played okay.
It was a terrible win.
It was a terrible game.
And Essendon played less than okay. Although Brandon Ellis would have to be one of the best, top 5, I'd say, from his draft pool so far. He has been. Like, who's ahead of him?
No, I thought you were about to say top 5 small
Wingard's
defenders.
ahead of him.
Wingard and
no one else. I'm going to have to look up the draft order right now. Because there aren't very many.
I thought you were going to say top 5.
He is the ultimate seagull. He is Richmond's Dyson Heppel. It was hilarious going to see GWS against Richmond last weekend and just how much outside ball he got. He just runs all day, and it's great to see.
I think that you can't take too much out of this game. Richmond were trying to preserve their players. They had that much percentage on Collingwood, it didn't really matter. Essendon, well, you can't really blame them. They had nothing but pride, really, to play for. And from the start, look, Essendon were good to try and keep it from being 100 points, because at the start, that's what it looked like. Like, the first 3 inside 50s to Richmond, it was ridiculous. You just saw players running everywhere. They were able to chip, like, those 20-metre passes into a forward pocket. And then, of course, you had the Merritt incident, which I don't think I've ever seen at AFL level.
Well, Richie Douglas did the same thing in the next game we're going to cover as well. Well, not the same thing. He cannoned it into the post from 1 metre out.
Yeah, like how you can miss it from the goal square running on the run, not a set shot. I mean, we've seen several players miss it from set shots, but sometimes twice in one game. But, yeah, you can't really see Merritt miss it too much.
I don't know what you're saying. But who would have picked Daniel Jackson at the start of the year to be a chance to win Richmond's best and fairest?
I'd say he's more than a chance.
It's top 3 guaranteed. Martin could take it from him.
I don't think Martin will. I think Jackson's been way more consistent. I mean, I don't remember how the Richmond voting works, but I think, based on consistency alone, I'd put Jackson ahead.
How did you think of Jackson in previous years, Matt? Because I remember him being a bit of a whipping boy for yourself.
Well, when Richmond were absolute garbage, I actually liked Jackson. He was one of my favourite players. No, absolute garbage. Like, this is 2009 era Richmond, and I actually did
Melbourne
like
garbage.
Yes,
jeez.
But in 2011 and probably the start of 2012, I was like, if Jackson's in our best 22, we're never going to get anywhere close.
So
to
you mean
finals.
finals? So you're admitting you're wrong now?
Yeah, I was wrong with Jackson.
There we go.
And now he's in your best 6 and 5th.
Now he's one of your best players.
That's fine. We could take fringe players and make them good, which is a nice change. I don't know. I think it was just injury because he had a lot of hamstring tendonitis, so he's got a lot more run, and he's kicking goals now, and he's kicking them accurately. What the hell is this?
Just to take...
banana.
Oh, don't.
I'm sorry.
Just to take from the game a little bit, did any of you guys see the end of the game when Essendon went to their cheer squad and thanked their fans for their undying support, etc. throughout this whole saga? What did you guys think about that? I thought it sort of took a little bit away from Richmond.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, Essendon, they could have done it, at least letting Richmond celebrate the victory. I think, the fact that Richmond went off first, they didn't get to celebrate with their crowd. I mean, they made finals for the first time in 12 years, and I mean, let's face it, they're probably going to win their first final, but, it's always a good opportunity to, thank their fans after the home and away season. Thanks for sticking by us. We've made finals. Essendon thanking their fans after...
Injunction.
After all that's happened, I mean, yes, I think the fans probably deserve the thanks from the players. I mean, they've been very resilient, both of them. So, but just it detracted from the win.
Well,
it really did.
Is there anything stopping Essendon to have organised an after-match function? Like, down the road, go, hey, supporters can come down, we'll have a chat. You know what I mean? Like down at a hall back at Windy Hill, something like that.
Teams have done that before. I remember, a few teams have done that. They hold them in the rooms afterwards, or in, function areas, say at the MCG already had wherever they are. So, teams do that. Essendon probably were better off doing that. I think, staying on the ground after the game really did detract from the win.
But how are Channel 7 commentators going to fawn over Essendon if they do it at some private function instead of in the public eye?
Yeah, it was a bit, dodgy, I think. Because after all, they were responsible, regardless.
Well, the players weren't.
Yeah, not the players,
a little bit.
Yeah, but, the club itself was still responsible for what happened, and they,
And something that I have been thinking about, which hasn't really been talked about, do you think that Essendon will have Mad Monday celebrations? I think they will get criticised if they go out and go partying, I think.
I think they might have a quiet one.
I think so as well.
Maybe a footy trip to somewhere where no one knows
Well,
where they
Joe
are.
Watson's leaving the country. He's going to watch the NFL something college in America, so he won't
go watch the baseball?
Leaving or
No,
fleeing?
not the baseball.
Go down to A-Rod's house.
I like that one. But just back to the game really quickly. You've got three key Richmond players to come back in for the finals. You've got Jack Riewoldt, Shane Edwards and Chris Newman. Who are you going to drop for them? I mean, you've got Stephenson, who's probably going to go. Petted maybe. He can't hit the broadside of a barn, that's for sure. He's good at everything else. But, and there's one more that I'm forgetting. Tuck, maybe? It would be a shame for Tuck to miss.
Harsh.
I know it's harsh, but...
Well, there's Matthew White at it as well.
Yeah, he was injured, but there was one more. I'll think about it.
I'm sure it'll come to you, Matt. Got a text in here from another anonymous person. Please, if you text us in, include your name because we'd like to credit you. And it just says there's been plenty of delusional supporters, but a lot of us have had to endure a lot. So I appreciate the players doing it. So obviously, an Essendon supporter who isn't Team Bombers who has appreciated the effort that the players went to last night.
Stand by that guy.
And that's fair enough. I mean, you can appreciate what the players have done. I mean, it's a very good sign, showing faith in the fans and vice versa, the fans sticking around to show faith in the players. But it was probably the wrong time.
Yeah, we're not disagreeing with what they did at all. It's more just the setting because it was Richmond's win. Richmond gone to finals, and I think they took away a little bit from that. That's
and
all.
what was with Essendon booing Hooley and the other person? Who was it?
I think it sort of just becomes that though. All clubs boo anyone. Doesn't matter if they were there like 13 years ago.
Massively hypocritical.
I know. Yeah.
Booing Job, and then they just boo other players. Like, from what I know, Richmond supporters weren't booing Watson at all. They booed Melksham after he was a flog, but they weren't booing Watson. They were much better behaved than any of the previous teams that Essendon had been playing. But yeah, if you're going to boo Hooley, who's like the absolute ultra professional, wasn't getting game time, and that's the only reason he left.
Let's boo someone we got rid of.
Yeah.
Logic out of 10.
Yeah, ridiculous.
It's like Carlton booing Jordan Russell. Like, you just wouldn't do it.
I would be
I
cheering.
thought you'd be cheering.
Moving on to, the dead rubber, I suppose, West Coast Adelaide. Very, very comprehensive by the Crows and very, very disappointing for the Eagles, who have been absolute crap over the past 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, it's their two lowest scores at Subiaco, twice in a row against Geelong and now Adelaide. And I mean, Adelaide haven't been a fantastic side this year. I'm surprised that, they're falling over the line so much against a team that should be on their level. It's really disappointing.
Will Worsfield be there next year?
No.
Oh, he's in discussions, and he said he's
terrible in the second half.
And he said, they'll be finalised mid-September. He's going to make his presentation to the board. Scotty Burns is waiting. I mean, who's their CEO? It was Trevor Nisbet who said, Scott Burns is coach in waiting. He's ready. If he wants the job and, the job is open, he'll take it. So, I mean, it's between Worsfold and Burns. If Worsfold isn't up for it, they've got a good coach in Burns. So, either way, I think West Coast will be in a good position. I think it all depends on whether Worsfold still has the passion to do it. I don't think he really does.
What's wrong with Josh Kennedy? It's been garbage this past month.
It's the first time he's gone goalless in 3 games in a row since 2007 when he was, a token number 4 draft pick getting a game in an average side.
Yeah, he's been a bit of a cactus.
He's just letting someone else win the column, and it's all good.
Yeah.
Oh, obviously, he had money on everyone else to win the column.
But who's going to come in for all of the West Coast retirements? Embley had his last game. Nikoski's done. I'm sure there's one more that I missed. Adam Selwood's done. And then you've got Cox and Glass, who are going to probably go around one more year. But who's going to come in after that? I mean, you've got Lyset, who's all right. Nick Nat's obviously a gun. But you've got a lot of young talent that hasn't really been blooded over the past few years. I mean, Bradley Shepherd was looking like being a really good player.
He was he was number 7 draft pick.
And he just never played.
You know, Cunnington, who else is there? Martin, you know, that very talented draft. Rowan. Yeah, he was behind a few players there. So I think, you know, with Glass going, I think, you know, that opens the door for Mitch Brown, Will Schofield a bit, you know, to play down back. Cox, I think, you know, straight swap for Lyset. Adam Selwood probably gives more opportunity to someone like Sam Butler or Nash Smith. I mean, Smith isn't, you know, a quality footballer, but it just means he gets more games. Or someone like Brad Shepherd, of course. So, you know, they got these players in the waiting. Just the problem is they haven't done very much so far. So
they haven't given them a chance. That's the thing. No. They just keep them at waffle level and play the older players when their season's done.
We talked about it a bit last week that, you know, their depth really hasn't had the exposure to AFL level as much as other teams, and it's costing them. You know, when they've got all these injuries, you know, to players like Naitanui, Waters, Hearn, you know, Kerr and Shuey have been out. You know, lots of players that are gone, and the players that are filling the void just aren't cutting it. And, you know, at other teams, they'd be a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that they in the Herald Sun today, they said that they'd be cutting a few of the small forwards, and one of them was Josh Hill, which I thought was a bit surprising. I know he hasn't been great this year, but last year he was fantastic value, I thought.
Surely they wouldn't cut Hill.
Well, I know, that's why I was a bit surprised that they had it in the Herald Sun today that they were going to possibly cut him, and I thought that's bit
ridiculous,
rough.
In my opinion.
He would be in their best 22, and he just kicks goals. I mean, it's second nature to him, you know, kicking 1 or 2 goals every single game. So.
And he's different to everyone else in that forward line, because most of them are marking players. Like, I know Lecrae and also Crum, but he's also, you know, predominantly a marking player as well. And he's just that crumbing option that's so different to everyone else.
And he can take a mark as well. So.
And he's a very good mark. And you've got more opportunity for the rookies. Blaine Wilson was one of them.
Mark Hutchings is another.
Hutchings. Adam Carter, who's shown a bit as well.
Adam Carter, you know, he probably slipped in the draft, I think, last year. So, you know, he's another player that really should get an opportunity next year as well. So there's a few, but it's just about getting them exposed and getting them playing good footy.
To give credit to Adelaide, they did get the job done.
They dominated them.
But with them not having any draft picks for the next couple of years, how are they going to improve?
It's just this 1 year still.
It's just 1 year?
Yeah. Well, they've got the young players there. I mean, they showed last year that they currently have a side that is top 4 quality. And, I mean, they've dropped off a lot this year. You know, players have gone backwards a little bit, but, I mean, there's still time for them to go forward.
Still have Tex Walker coming back. Then I think they'll do everything in their power to get Matt Crouch in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see.
Just before we head to some sim messages, got a text in here from Luke. Hooley being booed was shameful, agree fully with Matt, and Tiger supporters definitely more respectful to Job than others had been. So make sure you send us in your thoughts on 0427 767 767, and we'll be back after these sim messages.
Panorama, Melbourne's youngest newsroom.
I mean, how can something be non-lethal when people have died?
Hey, happy Valentine's Day. It's also International Condom Day. Would you like, one of our condoms? It seems like such a grotesque amount of waste of money.
This is not the Soviet Union. The government doesn't mandate that people can't drive a car.
It's like throwing tear gas, concussion grenades. 2 students lost eyes.
I think the sole purpose of Grindr is to meet people to have sex with.
Hey, sit up and listen to us. Take us more seriously, please.
Tune in to Panorama, 4:30 weekdays on SIN.
Gaming's come a long way in 30 years.
Pong to Mario, the Crash Bandicoot, Halo, and all the way to Skyrim. Video games have quickly gone from something for kids to a pivotal part of human society.
So much so that on Fridays, SIN has 2 shows dedicated to it.
Radio Respawn is on Fridays from 3. 1 hour of gaming news, reviews, and events for all the biggest series you've come to know and love.
From 11, SideQuest, your source of both retro and indie games, delving into the weird, wonderful, and generally unheard of side of gaming.
You're not going to get that anywhere else.
Because Friday is game day on SIN Radio.
Fan of Monday Night Raw? Saturday at 9 p.m. with me, Troy McVeigh, the SmackDown Hotel for all things wrestling.
For your fix of the latest indie tracks and electro beats, tune into Indecent Exposure, Monday nights at 9, only on Sin.
And we're back on Bound for Glory on Sin, talking about some trade and list management issues at the moment. Be sure to text in your opinion on 0427 767 767 or online at sin.org.au. Ethan's loving my whatever impersonation that was.
Oh yeah, that was superb.
Was that a
10 out of
Borat?
10, Matt.
That was what?
A Borat impersonation?
Yeah, I
Or a
suppose.
mix?
Yeah, I was going for Italian, but it turned into Borat.
That was not Italian.
Italian Borat.
There's your new concept session, Baron
Bound for
Cohen.
fast shambles on Sin 90.7 FM.
Speaking of a fast, Jack Watts, where is he going to go next year? Carlton?
Carlton.
Or Geelong, possibly?
Carlton.
If
I want to see him at Geelong. I want to see what they can do with him. Because I don't think Carlton have the
You'll win a
development.
Coleman, a Norm Smith, and a Brownlow medal for kicking 160 goals in the season.
I think he'll be, if he goes to Geelong, he'll be their Jack Gunston. And I
He
think
will be.
that would be spectacular to see because he's got all the attributes except some heart. And that's unfortunate.
Well, Pods Yardley is 32, 33. It's almost a straight swap.
Yeah, and you'd take that every day of the week of number one for a rookie. So, what's up?
If Paul Roos gets the Melbourne job, will Watts stay?
No.
Well, Watts did-
it'd help Melbourne's case. I mean, Paul
Yeah.
Roos is a very credited and he's got the credentials to to take Melbourne up to finals, I suppose, and that's going to play in Jack Watts' mind. He said he wants to wait and see who the new coach is and what they do, and he'll make his decision based off that. So it's obviously going to have an influence. I think, Paul Roos, it'd help Melbourne, to keep Jack Watts.
It would help Melbourne's case. I agree with you, Ethan. But in the end, if Jack Watts is getting offered a spot at Geelong or Carlton, teams that are going to play finals in
And
the
more
next
money.
few years, and more money, I don't see why he wouldn't leave.
Yeah, it's a good case, definitely. And speaking of Carlton, they're going to probably do a lot of culling at the end of this year with their main list and their rookie list as well. There's certain players that haven't got a lot of game time throughout the year, despite being quite serviceable, in my opinion. It is a fire sale, Ben. Very good. But I mean, what sort of players are you thinking that could be cut at the end of the year?
Well, players that we haven't seen this season, players like Laidler. Now, Laidler's a great player. I don't know why he's not getting any game time. There's something obviously going on behind the scenes there. So I think for him to just be sitting there in the ranks not doing anything is a bit of a waste. I think it's a waste for him as well. He definitely deserves game time. So I think he's definitely one that will not be at Carlton next year.
He's better than a VFL footballer.
Definitely.
He had a great 2012, didn't he?
He did.
Running
And
off a
it was
halfback.
only brought over for 2012, right? It was in the 2011 trade week. So, not getting much value out of your picks there, Mick. I know it wasn't you, but... and Dygan as
What's
well.
at his disposal, anyway?
Yeah.
Mick's an odd creature, though. There's method to the madness, I think. There's something going on behind that. Even Dygan, who's only gotten games in the last few weeks.
That's late inclusions.
Late inclusions, exactly. So Mick's making some sort of statement, which we don't know what it is, but it'll make sense to Carlton, I'm sure.
They're almost pity games, though. Twice in a row, rounds 22 and 23. Oh, someone's injured. Oh, just give it to Dygan.
What about the small forwards? Garlett, Betts, Yaron?
2 are going to go, in my opinion.
Garlett
Garlett's gonna stay.
during the week was actually...
So Betts
last
and
week
Yaron.
he didn't play because he...
Couldn't find a car spot.
Couldn't find a car park or something and didn't rock up to a game. So there's obviously disciplinary issues with Chris Yaron and Garlett.
He went
and
home.
Betts is like the only one that doesn't have disciplinary issues.
But he wants money.
He does want money.
600k apparently.
600k a year, 600k a goal.
Is any small forward in the comp getting that much?
No? Cyril will be close to pushing it nowadays.
Nah, he wouldn't get that much.
But
5.
You wouldn't get 6, but, pushing it.
Yeah. What do you think about Kane Lucas, who was an emergency on the weekend? And very polarising figure.
And the thing with Kane Lucas is he's been the substitute for a lot of the games this season as well, so he hasn't been playing full games. I don't know about him. I think I'm not sure what's going to happen with him, to be quite honest, because he definitely could play at Carlton. He's definitely got a spot there, but it's just if Mick will give him one.
And one more thing about Carlton, the ruck situation. Hampson, Warnock, Rowe, what's going to happen with them?
Cruiser.
In my opinion, Hampson, I think Hampson will be gone because he hasn't played a game since earlier this season.
Moving on to Melbourne, what's going to happen there? Hopefully you use the draft a bit more because the drafting of the mature age players has been very good. The trading has been not very good. Do you think... Well, Roden's announced his retirement after he did his ACL for the third time, unfortunately.
Yeah, Roden's gone. Davy's gone. Don't know... Well, McDonald's gone. Yeah, so that's 3 retirements. Again, it depends on who the new coach is and how much he wants to cull. I mean, you can only turn a list over so many times. I think, you got to actually...
Develop
you got to cultivate it a little bit. You got to keep some consistency there. I mean, when you got 10 players coming into the club every single year, it harms it. I think, and showed a little bit last year and this year as well. So, I think Melbourne, they probably do a bit of trading. I think they really do need to bolster their midfield. They'll probably look to the VFL. They'll look to the VFL and the Waffle and the SANFL again, just to see if they can find some established players. Someone like Chris Kane from the VFL can come straight in, and he'd be in Melbourne's best 22 from round 1. So
Shane Nelson from the Waffle has also been a very good player for multiple years. I think his attitude's changed a bit this year, so he might actually want to be drafted. I think he put like a little provision there for clubs to be drafted that he wanted to keep doing his motocross or something like that, and that's a nightmare for AFL clubs.
That's difficult.
But I think he's eased up on that, so he might get drafted this year. Regularly racks up many disposals at Waffle level, so that's one thing Melbourne needs, in my opinion, because their forward line and their back line is very good, or is going to be very good in a short amount of time, but their mids really need restocking, as well as a ruck. A ruck would be very good for Melbourne.
Well, Mark Jamar was playing in the VFL on Friday night, and I mean, they've got Gawn coming through, who'll probably be the best ruck, well, not next year, but the year after. He'd have established himself. So, and I think they got the depth there as well. Fitzpatrick can chop in, and Spencer's a good second ruck. Playing in the VFL, and Jamar, he's eased up a little bit. I think he's slowing down. So, I don't think that's as much of an issue, but it's the midfield that needs work.
Will they trade out a forward? Because they've got Hogan, Clark, Dawes.
No, they have to keep all of them, in my opinion.
Well, Watts, I think.
Yeah, Watts would be the one that goes. And what would they get for him? End of first round? If they went to Geelong?
No, probably a second round pick.
Even Geelong's?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't accept pick 35 for Jack Watts.
No, I don't think so. A very unhappy Melbourne supporter.
Maybe like that and an upgrade or something like that.
Yeah, probably a swap of picks as well. I think Watts has reached the point where it's no longer about the fact that he's number 1 draft pick. It's the fact that he's a key forward that is yet to establish himself and has the talent. I mean, you can only judge a player on the pick he was drafted at for so long. So
that's very true.
I mean, you look at someone like Tom Scully now, you don't think, okay, he's a number 1 draft pick. You think, okay, he's a B-grade defensive midfielder who's playing okay at GWS.
What a great decision by Scully to leave for that money. I'm sorry. But, wow. $1 million for 6 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that myself.
Yeah. Essendon changes. Who knows what's going to happen with them, because you've got the Asada investigation still looming over their heads. Player managers have come out and said that while it is a minor issue, it still is an issue that clubs are going to say, well, what if this player gets an infraction notice? Why would we want to trade him into our side just to be sitting on the sideline for 6 months to 2 years if they do get an infraction notice? So, I mean, is Hill going to retire? Is that...
Yeah, Hill played his last game last night, as well as Lovett Murray.
Yeah, and Lovett Murray, but, I mean, you've got a few in the... Do you think they'll try and show the solidarity and keep a lot of their players and just go with retirements? Because what if you get a disgruntled player that comes out and tells all if he gets delisted?
That's exactly right.
Well, yeah, we saw that with Carl Remus.
Oh, but Mike McVeigh said he was just, delisted
vitamins.
Because he loved his vitamins.
Yeah, that worked out well, didn't it?
But what does Essendon need? I mean...
Midfielders as well.
I suppose midfielders.
Getting some more assistance for Joe Watson around the clearances. Yes. I mean, they've got Melksham and Heppel that have started to show that a little bit this year. Somewhat. I know you're shaking your head. I mean, Heppel's improved.
He has.
I mean, he's starting to get a little bit.
He's not entirely gutless anymore.
Not entirely. I don't know. Probably the forwards are a little bit of an issue. I think there's Cramery, Hurley, Gumbleton. Ryder, Bell, Chambers, none of them have established themselves as 40-goal-a-year key forwards.
Wasn't there a rumour that Gumbleton was not going to be playing at Essendon next season?
I think it was only that he was getting 1-year deals, and if he was going to get a better deal elsewhere, then he would leave. So 2 years or whatever. And he's a WA boy, so he might go back there. Freo, probably looking for a solution after Pavlich, although Gumby isn't exactly a solution.
Would you want to invest in Gumby?
Well, if you give him a bit more than base wage and
more than base
security for 2 years, I think that's what he wants, the security rather than the pay.
I reckon you'd almost shop around Hurley.
Yeah, but he's signed for like 4 years.
Yeah, that's the problem.
But I don't rate Hurley as much as people do.
It just depends on what his market value is. I mean, he's obviously rated by Essendon. He's rated by, well, I suppose a few Essendon supporters as well. So, I mean, he's starting to get to the point, a bit like Jack Watts, where, I mean, Hurley's obviously a better player than Watts at the moment. He's kicked nearly 100 goals, but he really hasn't taken that next step. And I think it depends on whether he does at Essendon. I mean, you could give him one more year and say, okay, you got to start kicking.
Yeah,
you can't kick 25 goals a year anymore. You got to kick 40.
And he's a bit fragile as well, which isn't great for his consistency. Just going to run through some quick names here. Just give a gut opinion on whether they're going to stay, and if they are going to go, in your opinion, where they're going to go to. Dale Thomas, I think he's going to stay.
I think he'll go to Carlton.
I think he's going to go. I don't know where, but he's going to go.
And it's money that's the talking point. Buddy Franklin, GWS.
Gone.
What happened to Buddy and Fremantle?
Who knows?
Gone as well.
I say he's gone.
Daniel Cross, he's not retiring. He's just
gone to GWS or Melbourne.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Agreed. Paddy Carnesis.
Gone to the VFL.
I think someone might pick him up.
Werribee or Box Hill or
Melbourne.
I think Collingwood might pick him up.
No way.
For depth.
No way. That'd be horrible. And Conker, stay.
Yeah, stay. Wouldn't leave Richmond this
I think he might go to West Coast.
I think he would have if Martin's management got what they wanted, but Martin is basically signed for very good market value. So, yeah, go Conker. Moving right into preview of the rest of the games for this round. Starting off with the Battle of the Newbies.
Cameron.
Gold Coast and GWS. No, Cameron's no chance.
If he kicks
9 or 8 to tie.
It's not impossible.
Against, do they have Roy Thompson?
Yeah, I think they do.
They do, so no, that's not going to happen. Yeah, it's been a good year for Gold Coast, in my opinion. I think it'll be 2 years before GWS show anything like this. I don't think their third year is going to be as good, just because of the pathway that they went, much more young kids and less middle ages. But yeah, kudos to them. They could give the top 8 a shake next year, possibly, maybe?
Oh, I'd give it another year.
Yeah, maybe one more. But they'll certainly prevent some teams from making it in, and it's not going to be, oh crap, we lost to Gold Coast anymore. It's going to be, damn, they're a decent team. Yeah. But yeah, Gold Coast is going to win.
Yeah, Gold Coast easily.
Yeah, I think people are giving GWS a bit too much of a chance. I think Gold Coast is a very good side, and I think they'll run away with this one.
And it's at Metricon.
Is Ablett injured? His last 4 weeks have been...
Who knows?
He's probably exhausted.
Yeah.
He's only got the Brownlow locked in.
I think we forgot he's actually part human.
Yeah. Only part, though.
Only part.
The other part's God. Collingwood, North Melbourne.
Demigod.
Collingwood, North Melbourne. Was going to be a clutch game, but not anymore with Carlton winning. Travis Cloak needs 7 to get the Coleman. Not going to happen with
against Luke Delaney.
And Lockie Hansen.
He'll kick 70.
So who's leading the Coleman at the moment?
Roughhead.
Okay, I think
Roughhead's on
68.
That's no one wants the Coleman this year.
Which is ridiculous. Yeah, Collingwood. It's at the MCG, so Collingwood are going to win this game, in my opinion. It's only North's second time at the MCG, right? For the year?
Second time.
Oof. Not good enough. Yeah, Collingwood.
It's not our fault. It's
no, not good enough. AFL.
Push more MCG games.
Everything. Yeah, Collingwood. What is your opinion, North boy?
I think North will win by a point. That being our season.
Winning a clutch game.
Yeah, this North will win because it's pointless. But you see, Brisbane lost by a point. We needed Port Adelaide to win by a point, and they lost by a point. 3 points. North going to win by 1 point.
Or they could lose by 1 point.
Yeah. Just get the better draft picks. Just lose. Like, there's no point in
Well,
winning.
I would be more than happy for us to lose by 6 or 7 goals every week than to lose by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, 6 points.
Trust me, I'd take the 1 point. North will lose. You know, they have a shocking record outside of Etihad Stadium. I don't like outdoors, which is weird because
Our G record's not too bad.
Shame the MC
Oh,
doesn't
it's
have a
0-1
roof.
this year.
Yeah, by 4 points against Hawthorn.
0-1.
And then we beat Richmond there last year. It's 2 games.
Yeah, when Richmond weren't a top 8 side.
Oh.
No,
Don't look at me. I wasn't in the country.
No, they prefer the confines of Etihad. They score about 7 more goals there per game. So, yeah, Collingwood by about 20 points or so.
Yep.
I'm happy with that.
And last but not least, well, maybe least, Western Bulldogs
The
against
Western
Melbourne.
Bulldogs Melbourne game, which the Herald Sun has printed, is being played at the Gabba.
Ooh.
That's how much they care about it.
Being played at Etihad at 4:40. The Dogs have certainly run home hard at this at the latter stages of the year. Showing a bit. Their midfield certainly is very, very solid. They need forwards. They need them so badly.
Well, the good thing is they've been performing at the level of, you know, your Carlton and your Adelaide and your Brisbane for the last 6 or 7 weeks, which is probably where they want to be next year. You know, that 9 to 12 bracket. And I think, you know, comprehensively beating Melbourne, who they lost to earlier in the year. You know, that was only Melbourne's second win for the year. So if they do that, yeah, you know, it shows how far they've come.
I had them tipped for last, the Bulldogs, and that's how lowly I rated them. But they've certainly showed me, and the midfield is looking very good. Tom Liberatore has come on in leaps and bounds, and a bunch of other
all Aussie squad,
other of their young players. Oh, squad,
Easily.
yes, squad, not team. I don't think. No. But that's about all for this week.
Well, we're all tipping Dogs, I suppose.
Oh well,
Melbourne haven't won at Etihad for 7 years, is it?
Too long. I've lost count.
way too long. But thank you for listening to Bound for Glory. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Bound for Glory FM, as well as on Facebook, and be sure to check out boundforglorynews.com for all your footy news, fantasy news, and most importantly, under-18s coverage with player profiles, phantom drafts, and weekly round updates of the TAC Cup competition, which is in its finals right now. And while you're at it, follow Bound for Glory News on Twitter and Facebook as well. But that's about all for this week. We'll be back same time next week. See ya.
See you, boy.
I'm invincible. I'm paying money. The girl's happy. She's got no money. I got my rocks off. Oh, how good is this?